The space station called Bright Horizon was very big. It floated in the dark emptiness between stars. Many different alien species lived and worked there. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some had hard shells like insects. They came from hundreds of different planets across the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition had built this station as a place where all species could meet and work together. It was a place of peace, a place of learning, a place where the strong protected the weak. And on this day, the weakest creature anyone had ever seen walked through the station's main entrance. His name was Taiho. He was human. The aliens who saw him stop and stare. They had heard about humans before. A new species from a small blue planet called Earth. The Coalition had only made contact with Earth 5 years ago. Very few humans had traveled to space yet. Taiho was one of the first. He was not impressive to look at. He stood about average height for a human. He had black hair and dark eyes. He wore simple clothes. He carried a small bag. That was all. A large alien named Ronak walked up to meet him. Ronak was a Valkyrie. His species came from a very dangerous planet where everything wanted to kill you. The Valkyrie had evolved to survive. Ronak stood 3 meters tall. He had 4 arms. Each arm ended in sharp claws that could cut through metal. His skin was thick and gray like armor. His eyes were red and could see in complete darkness. Ronak looked down at the small human and felt confused. This was what he was supposed to protect? This soft little creature? You are the human called Taiho? Ronak asked. His voice was deep and rough. Yes, Taiho said. He smiled politely. Thank you for meeting me. Ronak did not smile back. Valkyrie did not smile. I am your security detail. I will protect you during your time on this station. Follow me. They walked through the station together. Everywhere they went, aliens stopped to look at Taiho. Some whispered to each other. Some laughed quietly. A few looked at him with something like pity. Taiho noticed all of this, but he said nothing. He just kept walking and watching and learning. Ronak took him to meet the station commander. Her name was Yura. She was a Thyssen, a species known for their long lives and great wisdom. Yura had blue skin and white hair. She had lived for over 300 years. She had fought in many wars. She had seen many species rise and fall. She looked at Taiho and saw nothing special. Welcome to Bright Horizon, Yura said. Her voice was cold and formal. You are here as a cultural liaison. Your job is to help humans and coalition species understand each other. Do you understand your role? I do, Taiho said. Good. Ronak will keep you safe. Please do not wander into dangerous areas of the station. Some sections are not safe for fragile species. Taiho nodded. I understand. After the meeting, Ronak took Taiho to his quarters. It was a small room with a bed and a desk. Nothing special, but it was clean and comfortable. I will be outside if you need me, Ronak said. He turned to leave. Ronak, Taiho said. May I ask you something? Ronak stopped. What? What do you think of humans? Ronak was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke honestly. I think you are weak. You have no claws, no armor, no venom. Your eyes cannot see in the dark. Your ears cannot hear high sounds. You cannot run fast. You cannot fight. On my planet, you would be food. Taiho listened to all of this. His face showed no anger, no hurt, just calm interest. Thank you for your honesty, he said. Ronak left, feeling strange. Most weak species became angry or sad when he told them the truth. This human just accepted it. Strange. Alone in his room, Taiho unpacked his bag. He had brought very few things from Earth. Some clothes. Some books. a small photo of his family, and one other item locked in a special case. He did not open the case. Not yet. Instead, he sat on his bed and thought about everything he had seen. The way Ronak moved, the blind spots in the station's security cameras, the different fighting styles of the aliens he had passed, the weapons they carried, their strengths, their weaknesses. Taiho had a very good memory. He remembered everything. Back on Earth, before the Coalition came, Taiho had been a soldier. Not just any soldier. He had been Special Forces. 8 years of the hardest training any human could survive. He had learned to fight in ways that most people could not imagine. He had been sent on missions that would never be written in any history book. But his file here said only one thing: cultural liaison. The Coalition had tested humans when they first made contact. They measured human strength, speed, and senses. They compared humans to other species. The results were clear. Humans were at the bottom of almost every category. Weak, slow, fragile. The Coalition had classified humans as a protected species. They were to be kept safe, like children. Nobody had thought to test human fighting skill. Nobody had asked what humans did when they had no claws or armor or venom. Nobody had wondered how humans had become the dominant species on their planet, despite having nothing. Taiho smiled to himself in the darkness of his room. They would learn. Soon enough, they would all learn. The galaxy thought humans were helpless. They thought humans needed protection. They looked at soft skin and dull teeth and saw weakness. They did not see the truth. Humans were the most dangerous thing in the universe. Not because of what they were born with, but because of what they had learned, what they had created, what they had become. Taiho closed his eyes and slept peacefully. Tomorrow, his real work would begin. 3 weeks passed on the Bright Horizon station. Taiho did his job as a cultural liaison. He attended meetings. He answered questions about Earth and human culture. He was polite and quiet and never caused problems. But he was always watching, always learning. Every day, he walked through different parts of the station. He visited the market area where aliens bought and sold strange goods. He went to the recreation halls where off-duty workers relaxed. He spent time in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. And he visited the combat training facility. He never went inside. He just stood outside and watched through the windows. Inside, aliens from many different species trained to fight. They were soldiers, guards, and warriors. They practiced with weapons. They fought each other in controlled matches. They pushed their bodies to the limit. Ronak noticed this behavior. He reported it to Commander Yura. The human watches the fighters every day, Ronak said. He stands there for hours, just watching. Yura frowned. Why? I do not know. Perhaps he is curious. Perhaps he wishes he could be like them. Yura shook her head. It does not matter. As long as he stays outside, there is no problem. The training facility is too dangerous for his species. But Taiho had other plans. On the 21st day, he walked into Yura's office and made a request. I would like to use the combat training facility, he said. Yura stared at him. Excuse me? The training facility. I want to train there. That is not possible, Yura said firmly. The facility is designed for combat-capable species. The equipment is too powerful. The training programs are too intense. You would be seriously hurt. I am willing to take that risk. I am not. Yura's voice became cold. My job is to keep everyone on this station safe. That includes you. The answer is no. Taiho did not argue. He simply nodded and left. The next day, he made the same request to Bora, the head combat instructor. Bora was a Kethrani. Her species looked like giant insects. She had a hard shell covering her body, 6 legs, and 2 powerful arms. Her reflexes were faster than any other species on the station. She had trained warriors for 40 years. "No," Bora said before Taiho even finished speaking. "Humans cannot train here. You are too fragile. Go away." Taiho tried again the next day. And the day after that. And the day after that. After 1 week of daily requests, Bora finally lost her patience. "Why do you keep asking?" she demanded. "Do you not understand the word no? You are weak. You have no natural weapons. You would break your bones in the first 5 minutes." "Let me prove you wrong," Taiho said calmly. Bora made a clicking sound with her mandibles. This was Kathrani laughter. "Prove me wrong? How? By dying? By completing 1 training session. Just 1. If I fail, if I am hurt, I will never ask again. But if I complete it, you will let me train whenever I want." Bora stared at the small human. He showed no fear, no doubt. He stood before her like he was absolutely certain he could do this impossible thing. It was the most ridiculous thing she had ever heard. But it was also interesting. "Very well," Bora said. "Tomorrow, the basic threat assessment course. I will not make it easier for you. If you want to prove yourself, you will face the same challenges as everyone else. That is all I ask," Taiho said. Word spread quickly through the station. The human wanted to try combat training. Everyone thought it was a joke. By the next morning, over 50 aliens had gathered at the training facility to watch. Ronak stood near the entrance, looking worried. He had grown somewhat fond of the strange little human over the past weeks. He did not want to watch him get hurt. "You do not have to do this," Ronak said. Taiho smiled. "Yes, I do. Why? To prove something? To who? To everyone. And to myself." Taiho walked into the training arena. It was a large circular room with metal walls and a sandy floor. Cameras covered every angle. Above, a control room looked down on the arena. Bora stood there, ready to start the program. The basic threat assessment course was the easiest program the facility had. It was meant for beginners. Combat drones would attack from different directions. The trainee had to avoid or disable them. The drones were set to Kathrani speed, which was still the default setting. Nobody had thought to change it for the human. Taiho stood in the center of the arena. He wore simple training clothes. No armor, no weapons. He took off his shoes and stood barefoot on the sand. The crowd outside laughed. What was this human doing? In the control room, Bora prepared to start the program. She expected this to last about 30 seconds. Just long enough for a drone to knock the human down. Then the medical team would take him away and she would never have to deal with his requests again. "Ready?" she called out. Taiho closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. He let it out slowly. In his mind, he went back to his training on Earth. The endless drills. The pain. The exhaustion. The lessons beaten into his body until they became instinct. He remembered his instructors. He remembered their words. Speed is not everything. Strength is not everything. The warrior who wins is the one who sees what others do not see. Taiho opened his eyes. "Ready," he said. Bora pressed the button. The first drone shot out from the wall like a bullet. It moved faster than most species could track. It aimed directly at Taiho's chest. But Taiho was not there. He had moved before the drone fired. Not after. Before. He had watched the wall, seen the tiny movement that came before the launch, and stepped aside. The drone flew past him and hit nothing. The crowd fell silent. Bora leaned forward in the control room. What? The second drone attacked. Then the third. Then all of them at once. And Taiho danced. That was the only word for it. He moved through the chaos like water flowing around stones. He did not try to match the drone's speed. He did not try to overpower them. He simply was not where they expected him to be. And when they overextended, when their programming made them vulnerable for just a moment, he struck. His hands moved with precision learned over years of practice. He found the joints in their armor. He redirected their momentum. He used their own speed against them. One by one, the drones fell. The crowd watched in stunned silence. This was impossible. This was a human. A soft, slow, weak human. How was he doing this? 4 minutes and 37 seconds later, every drone lay broken on the sand. Taiho stood alone in the center of the arena. He was breathing hard. Sweat covered his face. But he was not hurt. Not even a scratch. He looked up at the control room where Bora stood frozen. "I believe we had an agreement," he said. The galaxy had just received its first lesson about humans. It would not be the last. The video of Taiho's training session spread across the station like fire. Everyone wanted to see it. Everyone wanted to talk about it. The human who had done the impossible. In the recreation halls, aliens gathered around screens to watch the recording again and again. They slowed it down. They zoomed in. They tried to understand what they were seeing. "It must be fake," said a Valkyrie soldier. "Humans cannot move like that." "The recording is verified," said his companion, a Thesan scientist. "Every camera confirms it. The human really did this. But how? He has no natural abilities. No enhanced reflexes. No combat instincts." The scientist had no answer. In her office, Commander Yira watched the video for the 20th time. She paused it at the moment when Taiho disabled the first drone. His body position was perfect. His timing was perfect. He had moved before the drone attacked, as if he knew exactly what it would do. She called Bora to her office. "Explain this to me," Yira said. "How did a human do this?" Bora's antennae moved in a pattern that showed confusion. "I do not know, Commander. I have trained warriors for 40 years. I have seen thousands of species. I have never seen anything like this. He moved before the attacks came. How is that possible without precognition abilities?" "It is not precognition," Bora said slowly. "I reviewed the footage many times. He was reading the drones. The small movements they made before firing. The patterns in their programming. He learned them in real time and predicted what would come next. That requires incredible observation skills. Yes, and something more. His fighting style is unlike anything in our database. He does not use strength or speed. He uses technique, leverage, precise strikes to weak points. It is as if his species has spent thousands of years developing the perfect way to fight without natural weapons." Yura sat back in her chair. "That is exactly what they did," she said quietly. "We were so focused on testing their physical abilities that we never thought to test their skills, their training, their knowledge. What do we do now, Commander?" Yura thought for a long moment. "We learn," she finally said. "Have the human teach our soldiers what he knows. If one human can do this, imagine what an army of them could do." Taiho's life on the station changed completely. He was no longer the weak creature who needed protection. Now everyone wanted to talk to him. Everyone wanted to learn from him. He began teaching classes in the training facility. At first, only a few curious soldiers came. Then more. Then even more. Word spread that the humans' techniques could work for any species, regardless of their natural abilities. Ronak was one of his first students. "I do not understand," the big Valkyrie said after his third class. "I am stronger than you, faster than you. My claws can cut through steel. Why do your techniques work better than mine?" "Because you rely on your natural gifts," Taiho explained. You attack with strength. You expect your enemy to be weaker. But what happens when you meet someone stronger? Ronak had no answer. Humans could never rely on strength, Taiho continued. We were not the strongest on our planet. We were not the fastest. We had no claws or fangs or armor. So we learned to fight smart. We learned to use our enemy's strength against them. We learned that the biggest muscle in the body is the brain. He showed Ronak a simple throw. It used the Valkyrie's own weight and momentum to flip him onto the ground. Ronak tried to resist. He could not. His strength worked against him. This is impossible, Ronak said from the floor. No, Taiho said, helping him up. This is human. The weeks passed. Taiho trained more students. He taught them techniques from Earth: judo, aikido, wrestling, boxing. Each one developed over centuries of human conflict. Each one designed to help the weak overcome the strong. Some students learned faster than others. A young Kathrani named Dori showed special talent. Her fast reflexes combined well with human striking techniques. Within a month, she could defeat opponents twice her size. You are a good teacher, Dori told Taiho one day. I had good teachers, he replied. On Earth, this knowledge is passed down through generations. Each generation adds something new, improves something old. It never stops growing. How long have humans been fighting? Taiho smiled sadly. Since the beginning. We have always been at war. With animals. With nature. With each other. It is not something to be proud of. But it made us what we are. Not everyone was happy about Taiho's new status. Some aliens felt threatened. Others felt cheated. They had spent their whole lives believing physical strength was everything. Now this small human was proving them wrong. A Valkyrie warrior named Garan was the most angry. He was old and respected. He had won many battles. And he did not like being shown up by a soft little human. I challenged the human, Garan announced one day in the training facility. A real fight. No drones, no programs. Just him and me. The room went quiet. Taiho looked at Garan. The Valkyrie was huge, even for his species. His forearms were thick with muscle. His claws were long and sharp. His red eyes burned with anger. I accept, Taiho said calmly. No, Ronak stepped forward. Garan, this is not honorable. The human has no natural weapons. You would kill him. Then he should not have accepted, Garan said. They faced each other in the arena. Garan stood ready, his forearms raised, his claws extended. He was a mountain of muscle and anger. Taiho stood relaxed. He watched Garan's feet, his shoulders, his eyes. Garan attacked. He was fast for his size. His upper arms slashed at Taiho's head, while his lower arms reached for Taiho's body. It was a killing move. No one could block all four arms at once. Taiho did not try to block. He stepped into the attack, inside Garan's reach where the claws could not cut. He placed his hands on Garan's chest. He twisted his hips. He used Garan's own charge to lift the massive Valkyrie off the ground and throw him across the arena. Garan hit the wall hard. He lay there, stunned, unable to understand what had happened. Taiho walked over to him. He offered his hand. On Earth, he said, we have a saying. Pride comes before the fall. I am not your enemy, Garan, but I am also not weak. None of my species are. We just show our strength differently. Garan stared at the small hand offered to him. Then, slowly, he reached out and took it. The room exploded with cheers and applause. Something had changed on the bright horizon. A new understanding had been born. Humans were not the weak creatures the galaxy had assumed. They were survivors, adapters, Fighters who had turned weakness itself into a weapon. And this was only the beginning. The alarm came at midnight. Taiho woke instantly. Years of military training had taught him to go from deep sleep to full awareness in seconds. The alarm was loud and urgent. Red lights flashed in his room. "Warning!" the station's computer announced. "Unknown vessels approaching. All personnel report to emergency stations." Taiho dressed quickly and opened his door. The hallway was full of running people. Some were soldiers heading to defensive positions. Others were civilians looking for shelter. Everyone looked scared. Ronak appeared through the crowd. "Human, stay in your room. Lock the door. What is happening?" "Raiders. Black Spine Raiders. They are attacking the station." Taiho knew about the Black Spine Raiders. They were pirates and slavers. They attacked ships and stations to steal cargo and capture people's cell. They were brutal and showed no mercy. "How many ships?" Taiho asked. 12. Maybe 2,000 warriors. Ronak's face was grim. "Our defenses cannot hold them all." A massive explosion shook the station. The lights flickered. Somewhere, metal screamed as it tore apart. "They are breaching the hull," Ronak said. "Stay here. I must go fight." He turned and ran toward the sound of battle. Taiho did not stay in his room. He moved through the station, staying out of the main corridors where the fighting was heaviest. He knew the station's layout by heart now. Every turn, every shortcut, every hiding place. The sounds of battle were everywhere. Weapons fire, screams, explosions. The raiders were pushing deep into the station, overwhelming the defenders with sheer numbers. Taiho found a computer terminal and checked the security feeds. Most cameras were offline, but he saw enough. The raiders were moving toward the civilian sectors, toward the market, toward the medical bay. The medical bay, where the sick were treated, where the injured were recovering, where the children were. Taiho ran. On his way, he stopped at his quarters for just a moment. He opened the special case he had brought from Earth. Inside was a knife. It was not fancy. It was not decorated. It was just a simple black blade, designed by Korean Special Forces for one purpose only: killing. Taiho had hoped he would never need it again. He had left that life behind. But sometimes the past refuses to stay buried. He took the knife and kept moving. Near the medical bay, he found Suman. She was a young Korean woman who worked as a junior diplomat. She had been kind to Taiho since his arrival, always asking about Earth and sharing stories about her family. Now she was pressed against the wall, terrified as the sounds of fighting grew closer. "Taiho!" she gasped when she saw him. "What are you doing here?" "We need to hide. There are patients in the medical bay," Taiho said. "Children. We need to get them out. But the raiders, I will handle the raiders. You will lead the patients to Emergency Shelter 7. Do you know where that is?" Suman nodded. She was scared, but she was not a coward. "I know it." "Good. Stay behind me. Do exactly what I say. When I tell you to run, you run. Do not look back. Do you understand?" Yes. They moved toward the medical bay together. Twice they had to hide as raider patrols passed by. The raiders were large, ugly creatures with gray skin and yellow eyes. They carried energy weapons and clubs with spikes. They laughed as they searched for victims. Taiho studied them carefully. Their armor covered their chests but left their joints exposed. Their weapons were powerful but slow to reload. They fought in loose groups with no real coordination. They were strong. They were brutal, but they were not trained. The medical bay was guarded by 3 raiders. They stood at the entrance, blocking anyone from leaving. Inside, Taiho could hear crying, children's voices. "Wait here," he whispered to Suman. "Count to 30. Then go inside and get everyone out. Move fast. What are you going to do?" Taiho did not answer. He was already moving. The first raider never saw him coming. Taiho came from behind, silent as a shadow. His knife found the gap in the raider's armor at the neck. The creature fell without a sound. The second raider turned at the soft thump. Taiho was already there. He grabbed the raider's weapon arm and twisted. The joint broke with a wet crack. Before the raider could scream, the knife silenced him forever. The third raider raised his weapon. Too slow. Taiho was inside his guard. Too close to shoot. The knife moved 3 times. The raider collapsed. All 3 raiders were dead in less than 10 seconds. Suman stared with wide eyes. She had never seen anything like this. The kind diplomat who folded paper birds had just killed 3 warriors with nothing but a small knife. "Go," Taiho said. "Now." Suman shook herself and ran into the medical bay. Taiho followed. Inside, the patients were huddled together. Old aliens, sick aliens, and 12 children of various species, clinging to each other in fear. A Thesan nurse named Yuna was trying to calm them. "We are getting you out," Suman announced. "Everyone who can walk, stand up. Help those who cannot. We are going to Emergency Shelter 7. The raiders," Yuna started. "I will deal with the raiders," Taiho said. "Focus on the patients." They moved as a group through the damaged station. Suman led the way, helping the patients along. Taiho stayed at the back, watching for threats. The threats came. A raider patrol of 5 warriors found them in a corridor near the market section. They grinned when they saw the group of helpless civilians. "Look what we found," the leader said. "Fresh cargo." Taiho stepped forward. "Let them pass." The raiders laughed. "Oh, what, little thing? You will bore us to death?" Taiho moved. The galaxy had weapons that could destroy planets. Ships that could travel faster than light. Technology that seemed like magic. But nothing in the galaxy was more dangerous than a human special forces soldier with a blade and a reason to kill. Taiho did not fight fair. He did not give chances. He did not show mercy. Every movement was designed to kill as quickly as possible. He used the raiders' size against them, made them trip over each other, turned their strength into weakness. It was over in seconds. 5 raiders lay dead on the floor. Taiho stood among the bodies, breathing hard. His knife dripped with strange-colored blood. He looked back at the group of patients. They stared at him like they were seeing a monster. "Keep moving," he said quietly. "We are almost there." They reached the emergency shelter without further problems. Suman got everyone inside and sealed the door. They would be safe there until the coalition reinforcements arrived. Taiho did not go inside. "Where are you going?" Suman asked. "There are more raiders on the station. More people who need help. You cannot fight them all alone." Taiho looked at her. His eyes were calm, cold, the eyes of a man who had seen death many times before. "Watch me," he said. And then he was gone, disappearing into the smoke and chaos of the battle. The night was not over yet, and neither was Taiho. The battle lasted 6 more hours. Coalition reinforcement ships arrived at dawn, station time. They drove away the raider fleet and sent soldiers to clear the station of any remaining enemies. By midday, the fighting was over. The damage was terrible. Whole sections of the station were destroyed. Many people were dead. Many more were injured. But it could have been much worse. Much worse. When the coalition commanders reviewed the security footage, they could not believe what they saw. A single human, moving through the station like a ghost, killing raiders wherever he found them. He saved groups of trapped civilians. He ambushed enemy patrols. He caused so much chaos in the raider lines that their whole attack fell apart. The final count was impossible to believe. 37 raiders killed by one human with a knife. 37 of the most brutal warriors in the galaxy, each one stronger and faster and better armed than him, dead. Commander Yira found Taiho in the medical bay. He was sitting on a bed while a nurse treated his wounds. He had cuts on his arms and legs, bruises on his face, a cracked rib. Nothing serious. Nothing that would not heal. "You saved over 200 people last night," Yira said. "The children in the medical bay, the workers trapped in the market section, the engineers in the lower levels. All of them are alive because of you." Taiho said nothing. He just looked tired. "The Coalition Council wants to speak with you. They are reconsidering the classification of humans." "What does that mean?" Yira sat down across from him. For the first time since they met, she looked at him with true respect. "When the Coalition first contacted Earth, we classified humans as a protected species. Level 0 threat assessment. We believed you needed to be defended and cared for. We were wrong. We are still the same species we were before," Taiho said. "No, you are the same. We just finally see you clearly." Yira paused. "The Council wants to know how many humans can fight like you." Taiho almost smiled. "More than you would believe. Are you all soldiers?" "No, but we are all survivors. On Earth, everyone learns to fight in some way. It is part of our culture, part of our history. We have been at war with ourselves for as long as our species has existed." Yira shook her head slowly. "We have encountered hundreds of species in this galaxy. None of them are like you. Other species evolve natural weapons to survive. Claws, venom, armor. Your species evolved the ability to learn, to adapt, to turn any situation into an advantage. That is because we had no choice," Taiho said. "We were never the strongest. We were never the fastest. The only way we could survive was to be smarter, to work together, to never give up." The news spread across the galaxy. The story of the human who had saved a space station with nothing but a knife. The Coalition military academies requested information about human fighting techniques. Scientists wanted to study human evolution. Governments wanted to meet human leaders. Earth, the small blue planet that had been dismissed as unimportant, was suddenly the most talked about world in the galaxy. 1 week after the attack, Taiho stood in the training facility. It had been repaired quickly. The Coalition understood now how important it was. Hundreds of aliens filled the room. Soldiers, officers, commanders. They had come from across the station to hear the human speak. "I am not a special human," Taiho began. "I am not unique. What I did, any trained human could do. What I know, millions of humans know. The techniques I teach have been passed down for thousands of years." He paused, looking at the crowd. "Your species evolved to be warriors from birth, strong, fast, deadly. You look at humans and see weakness because we do not have these gifts. But that weakness is our greatest strength." He picked up a stone from the floor. It was small and smooth. "On Earth, there is a story about a boy named David who faced a giant named Goliath. The giant had armor and weapons and years of experience. The boy had only a stone and a piece of string. Everyone thought the boy would die. He held up the stone. But the boy knew something the giant did not. He knew that size does not decide battles. Strength does not decide battles. Weapons do not decide battles. What decides battles is the mind behind them." He threw the stone. It flew across the room and struck a target with perfect accuracy. The boy killed the giant with one throw. Not because he was stronger. Because he was smarter. Because he refused to fight on the giant's terms. because he found a way to win that no one else could see. The room was completely silent. This is what humans are. This is what we have always been. We are not born with weapons, so we make them. We are not born with armor, so we create it. We are not born with strength, so we develop techniques that make strength unnecessary. He looked at Commander Yira, who stood at the front of the crowd. You asked what the coalition should do with humans. Here is my answer. Do not protect us. Do not pity us. Work with us. Learn from us. And let us learn from you. In the months that followed, everything changed. Humans began arriving at coalition stations and ships, not as protected visitors, but as partners, teachers, students, soldiers. The coalition military created new training programs based on human techniques. Alien warriors learned to fight with skill instead of just strength. The results were remarkable. Taiho eventually returned to Earth. He had done what he came to do. He had shown the galaxy what humans really were. But before he left, he had one last conversation with Ronak. I was wrong about your species, the big Velkari said. I thought you were weak. I thought you needed protection. I am sorry. Do not be sorry, Taiho said. You were not wrong. Humans are weak. Our bodies break easily. We get sick. We grow old. We die young compared to many species. This is truth. Then how did you do what you did? Taiho smiled. It was a real smile this time. Warm and genuine. Because weakness teaches you things that strength never can. It teaches you to think before you act. To study your enemy. To find opportunities where others see none. It teaches you that every fight can be won if you are willing to find the right way. He shook Ronak's hand. Remember that, my friend. Remember that the most dangerous enemy is not the one with the sharpest claws. It is the one who has learned to win without them. Ronak watched the human walk away. Such a small creature. Such soft skin. Such dull teeth. And yet the most impressive warrior Ronak had ever met. The human was considered defenseless, until combat training changed everything, and the galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The end.